Okay, everyone. Grade 9 paper. Let's do this paper under 30 minutes. So it's a June mock test. It's a 2024 paper, grade 9. Read through the instructions and blah, 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 and all of that. I'm trying to look for. Okay, they don't say, but mostly they will tell you about rounding off. Maybe round off to 2 decimal place or 1 decimal place, and all of that. Okay, let's start with the questions. So I'll just go here. Okay, now they say, which of the following numbers in the pattern, which are the two missing numbers in the pattern? So look at that. This is 3, 9, and then there's a missing number there, and there's 81. So there's a clue there given. Here. So I'm gonna start with this one. This is since this is term number 1. If I say 3 to the power 1, I get that. So this 9 squared, 9, it's formed by 3 squared. You see. So meaning here it will be 3 cubed, which is 27. 3 to the 4 is 81. And 3 to the 5, which is how much? 243. So the answer will be B. So here, no, not B. The answer is A. So 27 and 243. So that's the answer. Which of the following is irrational? An irrational number. What is an irrational number? Irrational number is a number that's non-recurring and it has non-terminating decimals. So this, obviously, the square root of 25, it's 5. This is a non-real number. The square root of 1 is 1. So this will be an irrational number. If I press the square root of 23, I get 4,795831, 4,7859, blah, blah, blah. So that will make it an irrational number. Moving along. Property that is shown below. So what happened here? They're grouping the first two numbers. And then you get 8 there. Okay. And they're grouping the other two numbers. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they did a mistake here because this is a 7, this is a 8. So if I were to, let's just press the whole thing on the calculator. Let's see. So it's 8. Balls rocking. Okay. 5. 7 plus 4. Yeah. I'm assuming here they might have made a mistake. It's supposed to be -8. If that was the case, then we'll call it an associative property because they're grouping the terms. Okay, moving along. Because commutative identity property, it's multiplied by 1. Commutative property is when you swap in the two numbers. Distributing is when you are distributing it something like this. B plus C when I have to distribute. Commutative property is like A plus B is the same as B plus A. And associative property is A plus B plus C and A plus B plus C. I group the first two or the last two, you should get the same answer, whether you start with the first two numbers or the other two numbers. So in terms of seeing brackets there, that should be the property. Okay, simplify that one. Laws of exponents from grade 8, you should know that. So that will be 20, and that multiplied by positive will be 10 over y is it 30. So law 1 on top, 20 plus 10 will be 30 over 30, which is 1. So our answer is 1. Because why? 30 goes into 3 to the power 30 goes into 3 once into that. Or you can say 30 minus 30, which is 0. And then we know anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. Okay, moving along. How many terms do we have in this sequence? We have 2 terms. 2 terms. So this is a term, and this whole thing here is another term. So because of the bracket, it joins everything together. Everything becomes 1. Okay, moving along, moving along. Okay, so they want you to write this one in a simplified form. So in the simplified form, what is 4 plus 7? What is 4 plus 3? It's 7. 7 times n times m becomes what? 7 m n m. 7 n m. Okay, yes. So I'll take this one. A. Okay. A or AMN. Okay, moving along. What is the coefficient of x? What is the coefficient of x in this case? Also here, I'm assuming they wanted to say p because we don't have an x there. So in this case, the coefficient of p will be negative p over 4. What is the coefficient here of p? The rule is going to be negative 1 over 4. If there's nothing here, we know there's an invincible 1. So because of the 4 is a denominator, we're going to take this one. So it cannot be 4 because 4 is the denominator. There has to be a numerator. It cannot be this, not. So it becomes 1 over 4. Okay, if that's the answer, then what is the value of z? So here, there should be 2 values of z. So z will be 0 or z will be 5. 0 and 5, that's the answer. So let's solve for x. Z minus 5 equals to 0, and z transpose that one to that becomes 5. So you should know this one. So basic solve for x, and then this becomes 0. The z that's outside becomes equated to 0. 2z equals to 0. Divide both sides by 2, it still becomes 0. So we have 2 values of z there. What is the additive inverse and the multiplicative inverse of negative 10? So additive inverse of that one will be what will make it a 0, and multiplicative inverse is what will make it a 1. So what will make this, it was going to be a positive 10, and then a 1 over 10. And 1 over 10 and negative 1 over 10 so that we have a positive. So 10 and a negative 1 over 10. So C will be our answer there. Okay, moving along. What is the constant term? So what is the constant term? It's the term without the letter, the term without the variable. So in this case, this and that have variables. What are variables? Letters. This is the only one without a variable. So it's the constant term. So the constant term is how much? 10. Then we're done with the first one. Okay, Let's go to this question. State whether the following statements are true or false. 2,4143 going because of this, it shows that the numbers are still going on. It's an irrational number, so true. That will be true because the numbers are still going on. And obviously, we haven't seen a pattern yet. And then look at this one, the cube root of -8. It's a non-real number. It's false. The cube root of -8 is -2. So if you press it on the calculator, it will give you the answer. Use prime factors to determine the answer for this one. So your calculator can actually do this one for you. I'll show you just now. You press on your calculator what's inside the square root, 4,996. You cosine shift fact. Then you have 2 square root of 12. So I still have the cube root. And this, if you use the ladder method, you can do it, but you're going to get this, and you can just use a calculator to do it. And then what happens? This divides into that. So we can actually write this as an exponent. So whatever that's here becomes the denominator. So we're going to have 12 over 3. 12 over 3, which is 2 to the power 4, which is how much? 16. So if you actually press that whole thing on the calculator, the cube root of that, you get 16. So 4 marks should go to a mark for getting it in prime factor, changing the cube root into an exponent and a fraction like that, getting the answer and getting the final answer there. Okay, now let's start this question. 4 is to 9. If the ratio of boys to girls is 4 to 9, so there are 4 boys and 9 girls. So if there are 54, how many 54 boys, how many girls will there be? So what are we going to do? Cross multiplication. So x will be multiply this 2 and then divide by that 1. So 54 times 9 over 4. This is how much? One, 1.5, which is 121. So there will be 121 girls. Okay, let's just check if everything is right. 54 boys times 9 over. Yeah, I think it should be fine. Okay, question 3. Let's move on to that one. Okay, let's look at question 3. Question 3 says, consider the pattern. We're given that pattern. So look, from -1 to 1, they're adding with how much? With 2. From 1 to 3, they're adding with 2 all the time. So write down the next 2 terms. What will be the next 2 terms? 5 and 7. So that is done. Write down the constant difference. The constant difference is given as T2 minus T1, which is 1 minus 1, which is 2. It was a negative and negative, it's a positive. Write down the general term for this pattern. So how do we write the general term? The formula is given as dn plus c. dn becomes your difference, and then c becomes your term 1 minus your difference. So -1 minus 2, which is -3. So -3. So Tn will be that. Maybe I should try to zoom in a bit. So that is our answer there. So the answer for here is Tn equals to 2n minus 3. So which term will be of the sequence equal? Which term, we're looking for the term number in the sequence, will be equal to 47. So how do we do that? So we're looking for the term number that will be 47. So I'm going to write this one formula. In the place of Tn, I'm going to substitute 47. So 47 equals to Tn minus 3. Take Tn to that side, it becomes how much? 50 Tn divided by 2 divided by 2, n will be 25. So term number 25 will be equal to 47. Okay, nice question there. Consider the pattern below. Determine the number of unshaded, now keyword is unshaded squares in diagram 200. So we need to formulate the pattern from the unshaded ones. So unshaded is 1, 2 in this case, and then 3. So diagram 2000 will have how many unshaded part? Diagram 2000 will have 2000 unshaded squares. Okay, which diagram will contain 1000 unshaded squares? Same, which diagram will contain 1000? Diagram 1000. Okay. Okay. Calculate the following without the use of a calculator. So obviously they want you to do a bit of BODMAS there. What will be the answer? Negative 25. So about that. Negative 25, that will give me negative 30. Negative 32 plus 40. How much will that be? Just press that. Negative 2 plus 40 will give me negative 32. Okay, you can verify with your calculator. Yes, 2. Then let's look at this one. So with this one, what are you going to do? You're going to try to work out everything inside the square root first. So what is negative 4 squared? It will be 16 plus the cube root of 8 is 2 over 2. So what is that? It's going to be 18 over 2, which is 9. And what is the square root of 9? 3. So you solve this one, you write the answer. You solve this one, you write the answer. Even if you use a calculator, then you divide everything by 2. So work out the numerator. 16 plus 2 is 18. Then divide 18 by 2. Then you get 9. Then finally at the end, you get the square root of 3. Okay, now do this one. Simplify the following. What do you know about anything raised to the power of 0? It's 1. So this only applies to the p. So meaning p multiplied by 1 minus this. Everything is inside the bracket raised to the power of 0. So meaning the whole thing becomes 1. So the answer is 2 minus 1, which is 1. So you get a mark there for seeing the difference. You get the bracket. The first one, the bracket is inside, and the other one, the bracket is only for the whole thing is inside the bracket. Okay, let's look at this one for 6 marks. Nice, beautiful question. Square, you square everything inside here. So I still have the negative outside. So because of I'm squaring, everything is going to be a positive. Remember, a negative, look at this. If I square a negative number, this simply means if I expand, I'm going to have a negative and a negative, which will be a positive. So my answer will be positive here. What is m? M squared, m squared. M cubed multiplied by 2, it will be m6 multiplied by, same thing here. Because of the square and the negative, everything is going to be a positive. And then a square over Then here, everything, because now it's a cube. If it's a cube, this means what? Negative, negative, negative. So the answer will be a negative. So here the answer will be a negative m6n to the power of 10. So right there, we know a negative divided by a negative will be a positive. So the negative cancels with the negative. And then this one, m2 plus m2 becomes m4. And then now, when multiplying parts of the same base, we add. And then when dividing parts of the same base, we subtract. So I'm going to subtract with this one. I'm going to add this 2, get a 4, and then subtract with that one. What about this one? 6 plus 2 is how much? 8. And then we do what here? We subtract. So the answer will be m negative 2, m negative 2. Sorry, and here, negative 2. So what do we know if it's a negative and negative? It can be turned into a fraction. So the final answer is m squared n squared, which can be written as that. So I think the final mark is going to you knowing how to write your answer as a positive exponent. Positive exponent. Okay, moving along. Yes. Okay, with this one, simplification, you're going to just multiply in. So with this one, the first one, y plus 9 expanded to y plus 9. So this becomes y squared. This becomes plus 9y. And that becomes plus 9y. And that becomes plus 81. Minus, because of the negative, everything that comes after here. Everything that I'm going to solve it here, I'm going to put it inside the bracket because of the negative sign there. So y squared minus 5y plus 2y minus 10. And then I can add up the like terms now. Y squared, this becomes 18y plus 81 minus, I can still keep the bracket, y squared. This becomes negative 3y minus 10. Now we're dealing with negative now. Everything inside the bracket here, the sign is going to change. Y squared plus 18y plus 81. This becomes negative y squared. The negative and negative becomes a positive 3y, positive 10. This and this cancels. 18 plus 3 becomes how much? 21y. And then 81 plus 10 becomes 91. Okay. Okay, now let's continue. Question 6, factorization. Now remember I uploaded a video just now on factorization. There are 4 rules that you need to know: a common bracket, common factor first, common bracket, dots, difference of 2 squares or trinomial. So let's look at this one. Get this one first. So what is the highest common factor? A number that can go into all of those numbers. 4. 4 goes into this twice. 4, 3, 4, 4. So I can take out 4 as a common factor. And then here, the 4x's, 3x's, 2x's. So the highest number of x's that appear in all of them is x squared. Then here, y3, y4, y5. So the highest number of y's I can take is y3 because they appear in each and every term there. And then inside the bracket, I write what's left. So here, if I remove the 4, I'm left with 2. I took 2x's, I'm left with x squared, and all the y's are gone. And then minus 3. The 4 is out, I'm left with 3. Here I'm left with only 1x and only 1y. Plus 4, all the x's are gone because I took out x squared. Then I took out y3. So there's y squared left. And then what about this one? It's a trinomial. Factors of 6, which if I minus them, they'll give me a 5. It's 6 and 1. 6 minus 1 is 5. So I can have a6 and a1. And what about the signs? The sign in the middle term goes to the bigger number. And that one automatically becomes a plus. Okay, this one, it's a difference of 2 squares. First bracket is a plus, minus. Square root of c squared is c. Then what is the square root of 64? Should be 8. Yes, 8. And there you have your marks. Okay, now simplify using factorization. Let's look at this one. A nice question for 5 marks. Okay, let's do it here. So this one, it combines everything. Now let's look at it. It combines everything on factorization. So the first thing that I'm gonna do here, look at this part here. I'm gonna take out a common factor of 3. What am I left with in the bracket? Y plus 2 over, at the bottom, factors of 6, that if I subtract them, I get a 1. It's 3 and 2. So I'm gonna have a y3 and a y2. The signs are different, so the sign in the middle goes to the bigger number. So this will be a plus, and that will be a minus. Okay, plus multiplied by y minus 2. So I'm going to put this in bracket. Since it's a unit, it's one thing. In brackets, and then I have 3y plus 1. There's nothing to do there. Now, you remember from dealing with fractions, if I have a division, I can KCF. Keep change and flip. So I can change this division to a multiplication. Flip this one. It's a difference of 2 squares here, meaning y plus 1, y minus 1 over y plus 1. Then I can start canceling out. Now look, this one and this one can cancel. And then what about this one and that one can also cancel. And then you write what you're left with. 3 and 3 can also cancel. And then what are we left with? On top, y plus 2, y minus 1 over y plus 3 and y plus 1. So that's what we left with after we cancel. Okay, nice. Okay, last question. Okay, so, oh, we still have more questions there. Okay, now let's do this one quickly. So without use of a calculator, determine the value of this one. So solve this without a calculator, 4 marks. So because I've been doing factorization in this question, I'm assuming that I will have to solve this question using factorization. And then what is the relationship between those two terms? This is 132. This is 132 plus 1. Do you agree? Or you can say this is 133 and this is 132 plus 1, so that we link the two. No, 133 minus 1. Okay, let me fix it here. 133 minus 1. So either way you want to link the two terms, it will work. But let me use this one. So I have 132 and I'm writing 133 in terms of 132. So 133 is 132 plus 1. So I can write 132 plus 1 squared minus 132 squared. So I can now what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna do difference of two squares. Difference of two squares would be this one, 132 plus 1 minus 132, 132 plus 1 plus 132. Do you see it? So this and that will cancel, and then this bracket I have 1. What about this bracket? I have 4, 6, 2 plus 1. So 6, 2, 5. Yes. Okay. Beautiful question. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, lastly, let's do those two questions and then we're done. So solve for x, basic 1. Take the constants to one term. So we're transposing the -3 to the other side, becomes positive, or you can say the additive inverse of -3, which is +3. So we're adding 3 on both terms. If I add 3, I add 3. This becomes 0, and then becomes how much? -4. Divide both sides by 2 by 2. X is -2. So this means if I substitute -2 there by x, I'm going to get -7 as the answer. What about this one? This one is just straightforward. Already the equation is to 0. So meaning we are applying the 0 factor rule. You equate each bracket to 0. So p minus 9 equals to 0, or p plus 4 equals to 0. Transpose p is 9, or p is -4. There's no need to solve. As long as here it's a 0, there's no need for you to do FOIL method. You just equate each bracket to 0. This one is your exponential equation. 5m minus 1. What is, how can I write 125 as an exponent? Exponential form is 3. And then if the bases are the same, we drop the bases, we equate the exponents. So I'm going to have that, which is m is 4. Okay, don't get it now. And the last question, determine the value of this expression if k is 6 and L is 8. So meaning in the place of k, I'm going to substitute 6 plus that one, I'm substituting that one. Then I get how much? 36 plus 64, which should be 100. And then what is the square root of 100? It's 10. And then we are done with all the questions. Nice, beautiful questions, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.